That one, Tony.
Yeah.
Right now, though, it's time to hand over to our magnificent commentary team. Jack Bernicle and James Whittam. Go Walker 2!
We are really enjoying Chris Walker here biting his nails and putting on a great display of absolute fear as he waits for the start of the first race here at Brands Hatch. Stalker in 5th place on the grid, looking a bit happier this morning. Boy, Catherine's looking well alongside him. And Stalker was really miffed last night that he was popped off the front row of the grid. He didn't want to be on row 2. He doesn't like the fact that
the front for enough laps to make a bit of space for themselves.
A wink there from Gary and almost a wink from the other Gary, but a very sore and tender Gary McCoy. You only got the medical passage to actually ride here on Thursday.
The funny thing is, he's got a couple of flesh wounds. That's his worst nightmare, is it?
It is.
Oh dear.
What we don't really want is Troy Corser, the new daddy there on pole position, to get a real flyer. We've got to get somebody else into Paddock Bend with him. Watch those lights go. And straight off the line, and Corser gets a belter. Corser gets an absolutely steam hammer drive as they go into Paddock Bend. Someone had to sit up really sharply there. That might have been one of the Ducatis who lost a lot of ground. I think it was Toseland had to lift the bike up there in mid-turn. Someone just cut underneath him. Toes had to pick the bike up while Corser got away at the front with Mugridge second, and I thought so. Noriyuki Haga got a brilliant start and flexed his way through in between the front line to hit 3rd place. So as they peel uphill now into Surtees, and the man on a mission, the championship leader, is at the front. Laconi, Walker, Toseland, 4th, 5th and 6th. Vermeulen, Kageyama, Pitt, 7, 8 and 9. And this is the dive down 160 miles an hour through Pilgrim's Drop and then into the modified Westfield, the second right-hander here, which has had the apex tightened and brought forward. And there's a nasty bump there now where the tarmac's changed as you enter it, and the riders actually don't like it really. They think that a brilliant bend has been slightly messed up.
And that's Walker with Toseland right behind him and Vermeulen right behind him. None of them made such a cracking start.
Toseland's start wasn't bad, but he was really shoved offline in paddock.
And now he's desperate now to get past Walker.
So they keel into clearways. Look at Andrew Pitt. That loose Yamaha, they fly past us now, and looking up the inside, Norrie Haga peels inside into Paddock Bend and snatches 2nd place from Carl Muggeridge. A beautiful move from the Yamaha Italia rider, who's now after the man that he beat in the 2nd race at Brno, and that's Troy Corser. So Norrie-chan is on the gas once again, happy with the setup, finally getting things sorted out. I believe they had a few new bits to try out this weekend to improve the bike even more, James.
Yeah, engine bits. They had some engine bits come through from Japan, and they're reckoning definitely more power, certainly more mid-range.
Now, most people say that you've got a late apex Surtees, but like Hislop, of legendary status, Norrie Haga's got a way of cutting in there early and still getting the drive out.
He actually goes in early, mid-corner's quite slow, keeps it on the inside and then sort of squares the last bit off instead of apexing it late. The advantage of that is nobody's going to go barrelling up the inside at any time.
Only he could barrel up the inside of somebody else.
Exactly.
And here we are, the scary the scary Dingle-Dell, into Sheen Curve. and then bucking around as they head in. Look at that beautiful saucer-shaped Stirling's Bend, and Haga's on it.
And he is. And this is a classic Brands manoeuvre. Straight up the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. There's no real way back because you take somebody's road straight off him as soon as you get in front.
And again, look how tightly he can hold his line going into clearways.
And I think you're going to see the same manoeuvre if he's close enough.
Has he got the speed? He's not got the speed going down the straight to cut inside. He's got to hold station. There goes Toseland. Toseland cuts inside. Stalker tries to hold on to him, but Toseland muscles him aside and edges through into 5th place. There goes, Haga! Haga goes right underneath him through Druids. And here comes Corser retaliating to Graham Hill, but he can't do it. And Norrie Haga has the lead. What a show! and Muggeridge is right there. I think Muggeridge might be ready to have a go at Corsa as well.
I think you're right, and the way Muggeridge rode that bike round in his Superpole like yesterday, he's having it. He's confident with the bike, and he's confident that he can muscle the thing round and get a little bit offline now.
How fast is the Yamaha now? Look at that Suzuki pawing the air, which when I went walking around the track yesterday, I was amazed to see 6 inches of air under the front wheels of all those bikes as they plummet
all the way down Pilgrim's Drop. Yeah.
Fabulous to watch.
These bikes are so quick now. The straights out that straight.
What was
that?
Look, what a move. Where did Norrie get that from? Look at the darky he laid as he came out. What an incredible move by Haga. He takes the lead then, and we're back at the front where just as we went away back to that slow-mo, for a split second keeling into one of the left-handers, Corsa lost his outside footrest, which looked an uncomfortable moment. Now Tosland, he's got time ahead of it, he's got space ahead of him, he's got to try and close that gap on Regis Laconi. And did you see, that's the first time I've seen a moment there for Corsa, but he's working hard. He's got alongside and inside him going into paddock, and he closes the door on Norrie Haga. So Corsa is really up for this. Corsa wants to win this race. He wants to celebrate the birth of baby Calissa just 7 days ago, which took the pressure off him because originally she was scheduled to pop out on this very weekend. But Troy's been able to enjoy the new bit. Look at Stalker, he's got back ahead of Tosland. That was an interesting line from Muggers, taking a wide look to tuck back in.
And try and straighten the exit out of...
And now the Honda 10 Carter, we know how quick it is. It's getting on the back wheel now of Norrie Haga. And Chris Vermeulen has made a move now past Andrew Pitt.
And look, Corsa's pulled about half a second in about half a lap now. Whether that's anything to do with Muggeridge trying to get past Haga into Surtees, I don't know.
Haga's last lap was a 28.3, Corsa 28.423. It'll be interesting to see how they compare at the end of this particular circuit. And Pitt, who's looked good all weekend, is right there behind Chris Vermeulen, so he's making up in 8th place. He's the last of this kind of 16-wheeler we've got at the front here, and Stalker is just opened a little gap on Tosland.
Someone went wide, Vermeulen.
Across the line. And this time the laps were a 127.84 for Corsa, 128.2 for Norrie Haga, and that was a big lap there from Troy Corsa. But Haga once again works. There are certain parts of this track where not the flat out bits that he seems to be able to ease back in. Troy Corsa, Norrie Haga, Carl Muggeridge, Regis Laconi, Chris Walker and James Tosland at the front. Yeah, there's that late apex. Ooh, and just a little bit of a drift there for the Suzuki.
And you're right, there's certain parts of this course that Haga really seems to like and seems to be a real Corsa back in. And he's right with him again now.
It's not usually these faster bits. This is the short Derek Minter straight leading into the revamped Westfield, where they have to apex earlier on a sharper apex, and then it kind of pulls them back mid-track.
Well, what it does, it actually straightens them up down the hill. Instead of running wide with the bike cranked over with the power on down the hill where there's no runoff.
Here he comes on the inside to Sterling's. Norrie Haga, pitch perfect pass.
Yep.
And but look at the speed that Corsa picks up as he lifts up coming out of Sterling's. And he's back at front. Oh, that's unkind. So Norrie's going to have to work everything on the corners, James.
Yeah, but actually Haga had to knock it off just coming out because he was running wide, and Corsa just tucked it up the inside.
So 5 laps complete out of 25 as they thunder and howl out of paddock, and James Tosland losing a bit of ground now as Norrie looks up the inside once again. Oh, and has a big moment in the middle of Druids. It didn't seem to slow him down any. Tosland is losing ground. He's got Vermeulen and Pitt in his slipstream. Chris Walker is trying to hang on to the front four.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Walker's making ground. I think Walker's actually catching the front four up. I don't think it's so much Tosland dropping back. I think Stalker's bridging the gap between Tosland and Laconi in fourth. But that's only what I think.
Chris Walker, it's well worth hearing what you think with him most of the time. Here comes into Hawthorns once again. Norrie Haga swoops underneath number 11 Troy Corsa and then tries to hold his line going into Westfield. And all the time they've got the 10 Carte Winston Honda of Carl Muggeridge right in behind them, and Laconi now, perhaps Laconi's not lost any hint of a trailing front brake. He looks like he's sneaking in now into the action.
He does.
And of course he loves this track. He thinks it's brilliant, wonderful to be back.
What was it he said? He said they've altered Westfield and
Completely ruined it, he said. Oh, and he goes inside Carl Muggeridge. There's nothing ruined about that. Oh, and he gives him a wave of apology because he went in a bit hot.
It was an hard move, that, and Muggeridge won't like that.
And Muggeridge immediately tries to go up the inside going into Paddock Bend, but Laconi has the line. But Walker is now with them. Walker is with them. He's sniffing a podium. Through Druids, out of Druids. Kageyama holding a brave 10th place. Neukirchen has come through to 11th. Arbe to 12th ahead of Steve Martin. Dennis Hobbs, the Gisborough Flyer, is in 14th place ahead of Sebastian Jambert and Perariba.
I told you Stoker were going to catch him, and you laughed at me.
I did not laugh at you, but you said, I shouldn't believe what you were saying. Look at this move. Where did he get that from?
On the grass.
And Walker's having a look inside Muggeridge. You know, they get on ever so well off the track, but not necessarily so well on it.
Well, actually, Muggeridge is one of them. It doesn't matter how well you get on with him off the track. He's a very, very hard rider on the track.
Laconi then has that final position. Oh, and Gary McCoy's gone out. Gary McCoy has retired, the Foggy Patronus. And they were hoping for a decent result here. Well, Steve Martin's the only one who can do it now. That St. George's Cross that looks like a sort of member of the St. John's ambulance there. Number 9 is Stalker's helmet for the day, and you can get that from any RI Stockers. Oh, and Stalker, who said he didn't wear it in Superpole because he felt it caused him some wretched look yesterday afternoon, nearly unloaded big time then.
That was so close. You know, when a man's feet are coming off the pegs, he's ready for crashing. That was close.
Oh, and he's over on the rumble strip then as well. Now he's made all that effort to close in, and that would have cost him dear.
He's still on it though.
Typical Chris. So too is Norrie as he tries to find yet another way back in front of number 11, Troy Corset.
You're right, he goes really in tight dead early.
Yep.
But still able to keep it tight.
And Regis Laconi also tends to favour that line. And they all wrapping down into Pilgrim's Drop again. And any one of these guys really could be in for victory here. Norrie Haga having another look at the possibility of getting past Troy Corset.
And from the speed track times, it actually looks like the Yam's as quick, or if a little bit quicker than the Yamaha, than the Suzuki. Oh, this is start. Look,
oh,
feet off.
That was horrendous.
Yeah, that not good.
That was the true heart stopper then for Chris Walker. As the sun has just gone in at our end of the track here, they're now going back into the darker end of the arena as they come back into the reception from the air horns and the crowd that they're actually here because they're so close. My favourite place to watch is actually on the outside of the entrance to Clearways now. I think it's fantastic.
I'll tell you what, if you get a chance to watch from the inside, the very end of pit wall, that
Haga just uses the pit lane entrance.
Yeah, that's his favourite move. Of course, he tries to cut to the inside to go up the inside into Druids.
And Haga backing it in just like he used to do that 750 Yam into Y2K, the R7.
You can tell he's starting to feel confident with a bike.
Yeah.
He rides completely different when he's confident with a setup.
Stalker is also pretty happy with the setup. Other people who are, Muggeridge we've mentioned, and Andrew Pitt, who told his team to go straight back to what they'd started the season with halfway through the weekend at Brunel, and said don't touch it unless I tell you, and he's kept it that way.
I don't know, he said he's used everything, he's tried everything on the shelf he's tried round here, and nothing worked.
Oh no, that's Muggeridge who said everything on the shelf.
Sorry.
I thought that was a great expression. Yeah, he's ended up back where he started after trying everything on the shelf. So Haga has the lead at the moment. Further back downfield, we've got Lanzi 9th, Kageyama 10th, Neukirchner 11th, 12th, Arbe. And one person who I haven't seen anything of is Frankie Killy, who's presently in 19th place. And although he's lapping at a decent speed, he's got a huge amount of work to do to get himself anything like back on track. Best lap so far, 127.489 for that man at the front, Norrie Haga. Pitt on the second of the Yamaha Italia R1s. in 8th place, but and here comes Corsa once again, getting an amazing drive out of that long exit to Clearways and Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight, or what passes for a straight here at Brands. Troy Corsa, Norrie Haga, Regis Laconi, they are the front three. Oh, and Toseland's in trouble! Toseland's in trouble! He's rolling up the side of Halewood Hill, and the Xerox Ducati has stopped, which might explain, James, why he hasn't been going that quick. It could just be there's been a problem with the bike.
Yeah, although that, to me, didn't look like it was a bike that was getting slower and slower. It looks like one that's just stopped.
And halfway up Halewood Hill on the left-hand side, a disconsolate James Toseland has rolled to a halt. So that's knocked this front-running group back to 7 and elevated Lorenzo Lanzi's NCR Karaki Ducati up to 8th place. Now, one thing we were interested by was after his great qualification lap was whether Carl Muggeridge could hold the pace for a full, and that's, oh dear me. What a sad sight for James Toseland and quite a few thousand people around this circuit. Now it's down to Stalker then, in yonder blancmange yellow PSG1 Kawasaki. And that was Muggeridge's turn to have a bit of a moment there as he drove through Clearways. 15 laps to go, wow. Red hot pace like this.
Red hot pace and 5 riders still all together.
Regis Laconi has just been purposefully going about his business. He doesn't carry any demons over that left-hander there at Graham Hill Bend when he toppled out of the lead a year ago. But right now, he's just slightly lost ground on the 2 4-cylinder bikes ahead of him.
Well, you would think, or I would think, that Argus should be sitting behind Corsa and seeing if the pair of them can get away. There's absolutely no point, for me, if you can't get away from the guy you're going to pass in just beating each other up lap after lap, because you know it just gives the 3 or 4 guys behind you plenty of chance to keep up. You're slowing each other down. If he can sit behind Corsa now, the pair of them can get away and then have, you know, last 3 or 4 laps have a dust up between themselves and sort it out.
But that's not the way that Norrie works. That's what makes him so exciting.
No, you're right.
His mental outlook is about as different from your suggestion as could be.
Yeah. And in a way, sometimes if you're following somebody and you're really struggling to stop with them, but in certain places you can pass them, you tend to pass them because then you hold them up in the places they're good at,
yeah.
And you're able to stay with them. So it might be one of those, but it looks to me like it's not that difficult for Arga to stay with him, but it's impossible for him to get away when he gets past.
At the front then, Corsa leads, Haga in 2nd place, Laconi 3rd, and then the battle for 4th between Muggeridge and Chris Walker. Into Druids. Walker there, who's check out there's a new website, www.walkerthestalker.com, apparently.
Is that about his racing or his stalking activities?
I have no idea actually how far back it goes. Original title, you have to say. And here once again, Norrie Haga looking up the inside as Corsa takes his natural racing line into and out of Surtees.
Yeah, Corsa saw him up the inside and thought, no.
I'll tell you who's beginning to move as well, Vermeulen. Vermeulen is quickening up. He's just set his fastest lap of the race at 1:27.8, which was a fraction faster than Troy Corsa on that lap. And Vermeulen there, I suddenly realised, was in the back of our picture rather closer than he was before.
It's better passing each other everywhere.
See the daylight under Corsa's front wheel. And then a snaking Haga right behind him as they go through Sheen Curve. And through the saucer-shaped Stirlings.
Stirling's a wonderful con. It's all banked. It's lovely. It's just like a big ball.
Fantastic
to watch.
turn it in there
so quick because it's the camber's brilliant just to catch you.
Whereas everywhere else, the camber's changing all the time.
It is, yeah.
And that point there, as they cross the finish line, there's a terrific bump that springs up the rear suspension and then throws it back down again, and it
like
kind of unsettles everything heading
just
to
before
paddock.
you're braking for Paddock Hill. It's actually a big lump, then a compression, then another big lump.
Chris Walker is very, very close to Muggeridge, and he's desperate really to find a way through.
And Arga's just out the seat again there, and that's just let Corsa get away a bit, and Laconi just catch up with Arga a little bit. We'll see if Arga can catch Corsa now.
Laconi was actually the fastest man on track with a 1:27.8 on that lap, but one of the fastest men on the circuit also on that lap was Kageyama in 9th place with a 1:28.2, which is a very brave ride indeed. He was looking so second-hand yesterday. That was after he'd come back from hospital, not before he went. Through Westfield, the dive into Dingledell.
That used to be a chicane that now they've renamed. Well, that used to be a little chicane there, and now it's just.
I liked it that way.
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was. Scary though if you got it wrong.
Laconi is. Oh, that was a big moment for Norrie coming out of Druids, where he is capable of keeping it tight. And there goes Stalker. Stalker has got through. While we were looking at a slow-mo, Stalker somewhere around Stirling's has found a way past Carl Muggeridge. And Muggeridge is going to have his teammate Chris Vermeulen for company very shortly, I think. Vermeulen again, 1:27.7. He was the fastest man on track on that lap. Stalker backing into Druids, he's gone wide.
He's gone really wide.
Surely that gives... no, Muggeridge wasn't close enough to take advantage, so Stalker manages to hang on to 4th place. There's a big gap behind Andrew Pitt, and then a battle going on now because Yukio Kageyama has closed the gap on Lorenzo Lanzi. And Kageyama setting again his fastest lap of the race with a 1:28.23, took another 0.2 out of the Ducati. And Vermeulen is really digging in here. He's rather like he did at the second race at Brno, James, when he came a long way in the second half of the race.
Yeah. As I say, he was fairly confident that on race rubber he could run at the front. What a lovely shot that is. It
is, and the great bark of the Ducati on the overrun, as well as on the under acceleration. And Laconi is actually right with these guys. Laconi is matching them every inch of the way. He was actually quicker on the last lap with a 1:27.8. And once again, Vermeulen with that tenacious, almost Doohan-like riding style, coming right up now towards Muggeridge.
Yeah, and if he's going to do anything at all, he's going to have to waste no time whatsoever getting past Muggeridge and Stalker.
But this time it was Corsa responding with a 1:27.69, Vermeulen 1:27.82. And the sun is blazing once again on the massed banks of spectators here at Brands Hatch. Frankie Keely's moved into 17th place. He just goes past us now in front of even Clementi. But Clementi passes him back going into paddock, and that's what Frankie's been saying about his lack of confidence in the cornering of the Honda. Still not got that Claffey Honda sorted out to make him feel comfortable and confident in the bends. Vermeulen, number 77. And you can see that Corsa has opened up the gap now to 2.5 seconds over. Oh, and that was Vermeulen going very, very wide, going off Westfield into Dingledell. That cost him a pack of time. And once again, Haga closing that gap, James, as we come round towards the main arena here. And in the far distance, in the sunshine, they're peeling round through clearways. And almost skimming the white line as they come across the grid. And Haga once again dives underneath as he goes into paddock from a long way back. Outrageous manoeuvre that he didn't actually pull off. It's just like letting Troy know that he's still there.
I think he'll know he's still there. He's that close, you'll actually be in the corner. Some of the corners, you'll actually be able to hear the other bike.
That mistake of Vermeulen's cost him a lot of time. But he's nonetheless right back now on Carl Muggeridge as they dip through Graham Hill Bend. Once again, the tight line up into and through Surtees. The classic line from Troy Corsa, the Haga line from Norrie Haga.
And it's doing Haga no harm, that real tight line at Surtees, because his bike's always just a little bit quicker than the Suzuki down the straight on the speed trap times.
Fantastic ride from 23-year-old Dennis Hobbs, recovered from the vertebrae damaged at Mallory Park in British Superbikes, and also, of course, from the huge accident that broke his neck at Croft last year. He's now in 13th place, ahead of Perariba on the similar bike, and only about a tenth of a second behind Steve Martin, so he's having a great dust-up with the veteran Aussie on the FP1 Foggy Patronus. And Killy's out. I thought Killy wasn't showing any sign of real speed, and Frankie Killy, a great hero here in the British Isles, out of the race on the Claffey Honda. And once again, another lap about to be completed. Once again, Norrie Haga pushes for the inside and squealing under the brakes. He manages to snake his way through. Haga takes the lead once again from Troy Corser. Regis Laconi still there in third. The front three now have broken well away from Chris Walker, and Chris Vermeulen has got the better of Carl Muggeridge. So Vermeulen still on the move, despite the fact he's suffered one or two mistakes that have cost him time. He's still making a move forward, and he's now through into 5th place after passing underneath like that, going into paddock in the same way that Norrie Haga got the better of Troy Corser. So Haga, completely paying no heed at all to James Whittam's advice, is still snatching back the lead at every available opportunity.
Why would you? Nobody else does.
30 years old, 2 stone lighter, and therefore he says improving his power to weight ratio on the Yamaha Italia R1. But here comes and that man Troy Corser just looming big in the wing mirrors, and of course Corser, they've brought more new parts for the already extremely well sorted Suzuki.
And in actual fact, speaking of new parts, one of the new things the Yamaha team have got for the R1 is a new pipe, new exhaust pipe that actually the left hand, as you look from behind, oh dear.
Oh dear, and that's Haga having to sit up, but he goes back for the inside. He thinks, well, if you're going to do that to me, I'll dust you up the inside into Druids. And he does.
I don't know why these lads are doing this. But as I was saying, that of the twin pipes coming out of the seat of Haga's back, the left-hand one, as you look, that's the one nearest the floor now, is not doing anything whatsoever. It's just one. All the exhaust gases are exiting through the right hand of the pipes.
Why is that then?
Because it works. I don't know. I'm an engineer.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were going to blow me away with science.
Oh, I don't know.
Now they're diving down into Pilgrim's Drop. This is a great ride by Haga. This is why the British crowds, and indeed crowds everywhere, absolutely adore the man.
Yeah, and this is why Yamaha adore him. They know that this is what he's capable of if everything goes his way.
Regis Laconi, do you think he's got anything in hand, or is he actually right on the limiter, just looking at these guys and hanging on to them?
I still think if they'd followed my advice and sat behind either of each other, they would actually pull away from Laconi. But it looks like he's going to be in there at the end.
And the front men were all incredibly consistent on their times. The front 5 from Haga back to Vermeulen, all in 128.2s on that lap, except Laconi, who dropped a 128.14 in. And he actually is right with them as they go howling past us now. 2 screaming 4-cylinders and that barking, thundering Ducati. And Norrie Haga's style as he dives down through paddock looks, shall we say, meaningful.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see how hard Corser's going to fight for the win if it's going to be dangerous like this.
But I don't think it's dangerous. He's enjoying it.
No, but easy to get tangled up and make a mistake and not get any points. Where he could sit and get the points and possibly still extend his lead in the championship. I don't know how hard he's going to fight. At the minute it looks like he's going to go tooth and nail for it. But it does remain to be seen in the last lap dust up how much metal he's going to have.
Well, he certainly moved out as if he's going to make a move down into Hawthorns, but decides against it. I had the huge pleasure of cuddling the 6-day-old Calissa yesterday evening, and can I just say that Sam Corser, Troy's wife, looks absolutely in full bloom.
She does.
Better than I've ever seen.
She absolutely does. Yeah, I saw her at the gig last night, and considering what
she did get there. Yeah,
she did turn up, yeah.
The Pole Boys were on last night. Several thousand hearty fans watching, and Mr. Whittam making a guest appearance on the drums in place of the real drummer.
I can only remember 2 songs we ever did, so them's the ones I did, obviously.
Well, it was great. It went down a bomb. They were chanting your name, Whit. It was filling the night air.
Yeah, I had fun.
And they're having fun right now. Walker versus Vermeulen.
And it has a sort of air of inevitability about when Vermeulen's behind anybody and he's been going like he has.
Oh, and just the way that Corsa has a feeling of inevitability when he's behind anybody. And where is Laconi going? He's catching the number 11 bus back to town.
Going for a sandwich back in his hospitality unit, I think.
But here comes Norrie once again, proves that he's willing to go straight for the pass back in an instant. And Corsa there for the first time glances over his shoulder.
And what are you trying to say?
I'm just wondering if he's taking a check on what's going on behind.
He's done this before. It doesn't mean that he's settling for second. What that means is he's trying to figure out who's behind him. He don't want to be lining Arga up and then getting nabbed from down by the corner.
Look how loose he was. Now, you don't see Troy as loose as that very often, as he came over the hump into paddock. And then immediate retaliation from Norrie. Meanwhile, into the points goes the Koji Renegade Honda of Ben Bostrom in 15th place behind Perariba's Kawasaki. And Dennis Hobbs has got the better by 0.2 of a second of Steve Martin. Hobbs moves through to 12th place, and he's only 0.3 of a second behind Norik Arbe. Norik Arbe versus Dennis Hobbs. That's quite something, isn't it?
Oh, that's one for your scrapbook.
It is. Fabulous. You may not see it on screen, but it's happening out there, folks, here at Brands Hatch.
No, Hobbs has had an absolutely brilliant weekend. I'm dead pleased for him.
Once again, bursting out onto the bridge into that wall of sound. Here comes Norrie Troy Corsa, Reggie Laconi. Look at Norrie's the rebound on that bike, and it unsettles it coming out of clearways. He tries to hang on, and he does. And Walker's still keeping Vermeulen there with 5 laps to go.
And Corsa's definitely better at clearways. The bike's a lot more settled, gets better driving. That's why he's able to level with Arga down the straight.
Muggeridge in 6th place, 7th place, Andrew Pitt, the reigning and a former World Supersports champion, beginning to close up in that battle for 6th place. By the way, there was a stunt rider down there on that straight. If you're wondering what on earth those black lines are, they're nothing to do with the racers.
It was celebrated Scouser Garrett Rothwell.
Oh, was it Rothwell?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And a fine job he did.
He did.
There was also a rather scary aeroplane overhead, making me feel seasick. Kagayama, look at Kagayama, he's now through by 1/10 of a second ahead of Lanzi into 8th place. What a brave ride. And there's Arbe and Hobbs, look at that, the gap's now 0.2 of a second. And Ben Bostrom has got the better of Perariba, so Bostrom, who actually confessed with refreshing candour to both me and my daughter Lucy yesterday that he doesn't like traffic. He really doesn't like starting that far back on the grid. And now that the traffic's clearing a bit, he's moving forward.
Well, I thought you meant like studying traffic with his car, but none of us like that, do we?
No, he doesn't like racing amongst it. And here comes Chris Vermeulen snaking inside Chris Walker. And Stalker loses out, but tries to retaliate straight away. Comes underneath him through clearways. And Stalker's side by side, and the ZX10 has the power and holds on, going up the inside into paddock. What a lovely move by Walker. He gets that PSG1 missile back. Oh, but the side by side coming up the hill. He has it, he holds it.
Yeah, Stalker ran him straight out to the stripe. He knew he was there, just ran him straight. That's allowed. That's perfectly acceptable behaviour. It is. You know you're doing it. And
Senior Conzoni's going to be beside himself because the second R1 in the hands of Andrew Pitt has closed the gap now on Carl Muggeridge and is really making a point as Vermeulen tries the inside line there but runs wide and loses a bit of traction there coming up and out of John Surtees.
Yeah, this is perfect for Yamaha, and I don't know if I've mentioned before, but it's Yamaha's 50th anniversary this year, so
they want these
deserve
victories.
a win.
Yeah, well, they've had one, they deserve another. And they're going for it. Look at these two side by side. Stalker moving a goal. Stalker moves over on Vermeulen. Vermeulen gets completely elastic going into Pilgrims, into Dingledell.
I think Vermeulen got in a wrong gear. I think he backshifted one too many gears there. He locked up so quick.
You hear about people doing that. We know that Troy Corsa destroyed his chances of winning the 1998 World Championship in the last round at Sugo when he did that during morning warm-up. How easy is it to backshift? It seems almost a simple error to do that.
Well, you've got to count your gears, but what you've got to understand is it's so difficult when you're in traffic and concentrating on other things to be counting your gears, and it is easy to do.
3 laps to go. And this is the battle going on between Noriyuki Haga, Troy Corsa, Regis Laconi at solid 3rd place. Doesn't look as yet whether he can launch a meaningful attack on the 2 guys in front of him, but they're having some sort of set to as they drop down through Graham Hill Bend. Chris Walker is still holding off Chris Vermeulen. Here they come along the bottom straight and up into Surtees. Stalker's a battler, isn't he?
It's such an awkward little style he's got as well. It just doesn't look comfortable at all. Like, you won't want to do 20 laps with that style, would you? Here comes Vermeulen. Yep, that was clean.
Vermeulen through Hawthorns.
Oh, was it?
Stalker comes straight back and sticks one. It's like it must be having like a custard thrown in your face when that yellow Kawasaki comes past you straight away again. Oof, Norrie just loses a bit of traction coming through Sheen Curve, drops it into Sterling's. The style of Haga, his confidence has blossomed this last 2 rounds.
And really confident with the front end. You watch how he turns it in with the back end moving around. He's still on the brakes and he's still able just to turn it in. But this job's all about confidence, Jack. All about confidence.
You're beginning to sound like Martin Lampkin and Dougie at the World Trials round at Hawkston Park last weekend. Confidence, confidence.
I sound like him because I live near him.
Up the hill into Druids. Norrie Haga, father of 2. Troy Corser, father of 2. And the 2 scrappers there, father of none between them. Chris Vermeulen getting the better of Chris Walker once again as they dip into Druids. Stalker having another look as they come down the hill, going wide on the entrance and trying to cut it back tight. Do you know one of the wonderful things about Stalker? He has motocross lines sometimes.
He does.
He looks for ways around people like a motocrosser would.
His whole style, his lines and his aggressive sort of stance on the bike is all very motocrossy.
And those guys with the bright yellow wigs that we can see down on the far side there near Graham Hill Bend, there's something to do with his motocross days.
If you see on screen any Stalker fans with yellow sort of afro but yellow wigs, it's because he had a great shock of blonde curly hair when he was motocrossing, and he was known as the bog brush apparently. And that's a sort of his old mates from his motocross days, and that's where it comes from.
And I didn't realise that's what his hair would do if it grew long.
Apparently so. It looks like it's been on fire apparently.
Here we go, under the Axo Bridge, and it's the Alpine Star. Well, it was of Norrie Haga, but right through underneath it, there goes Troy Corser, the championship leader. And Norrie Haga, the man who should have been champion here at Brands Hatch 5 years ago, but was prevented from starting by the puerile FIM, comes diving round into the final lap, and Troy Corser has he made the meaningful move when it matters? And there's a back marker ahead of them. That's not what they need. What can Norrie Haga do now? Can he take his revenge? Troy Corser grabs the advantage. We're into the final lap.
Has Corser got a plan that's going to work? I think he's gone too early. I think Haga can get him back.
And meanwhile, while this battle's going on, ladies and gentlemen, there's some amazing stuff going on with Neukirchner, I think that is. Neukirchner, Arbe and Bostrom and Hobbs are absolutely locked together. Dennis Hobbs in some exalted company, and he had the better there of Bostrom as they crossed the line. Meanwhile, Corser, I don't know whether he has gone too early. He's opened the gap. He had a moment. He's trying hard. He's trying very hard.
That's Haga trying hard. He's completely sideways.
Oh, Noriyuka's trying everything to get back on terms, and he's got closer to him as they come into Sheen Curve. Has he got a way through? Oh, he's sideways on coming out of Sheen Curve. He gets into Sterling's. He's got a bike length to make up. Has he got the sheer speed? It's going to take something awfully special. They're going to come bursting out now underneath the bridge into the sunshine. There's about 3 bike lengths in it. It's never impossible with Haga. They're coming round the bend, they clip the apex. Norrie Haga, as close as he can be, coming towards the line, but it's Troy Corser who lofts a triumphant wheelie and takes another race win for our star at Corona Suzuki. Muggeridge hung on to that 6th place, but only just from Andrew Pitt, so 2nd and 7th is a pretty good result for your old team.
Yep, no, they'll be pleased with that. It's so close to a win, though.
Look how tight that was together. Arbe, Bostrom, Hobbs, Rieber crossing the line as closely as that. 32-4, 32-5.